Welcome back to Grow with Alan, week 2, and today we're going to be talking about soil preparation, crop rotation. We're going to be taking a quick tour of the greenhouse. We're going to be manuring the soil, and we're going to be planting up a few more things. I've got sugar snap peas, kale, parsley, bit of salad, basil, lettuce, broad beans, and finally something to put with your cheese, cauliflowers. Right, now let's crack on with talking about soil. The single most important thing in determining whether you get terrific vegetables and flowers or slightly rubbish ones is the quality of your soil. Now, I don't know about you, but I've sat in if you sit in any kind of health environment, doctor's surgery or something like that, there's always a poster on the wall saying you must eat a balanced diet, it'll keep you well and fit. If you go and eat every day, it's all going to turn out badly, and it's much the same for plants and flowers. They like a good balanced diet, and actually if they stay in the same place all the time with the same soil, they exhaust the things they want and it all goes a bit wrong. So that's why we do crop rotation, which is a little bit like this, and it's really easy. Here we are, we've got 4 main groups of vegetables. Legumes, not all French, you get French beans, that's your French beans, runner beans, broad beans, peas, so you get that sort of plant there. Brassicas, cauliflower, kale, cabbages, broccoli. There's a few strange ones in there as well, actually, like Swedes. Potatoes, and surprisingly enough, tomatoes. Potatoes and tomatoes are the same family. In fact, you can get these cunning plants which grow potatoes on their roots and tomatoes on the top. Bit of a winner. Finally, onions and roots, the rest. Now, crop rotation, how's it work? So we've got these 4 different groups. Basically, each year you just move them up one. So year 2, that's how they are in year 1. Year 2, brassicas just come up to the top. Potatoes follow the brassicas, onions and roots follow the potatoes. Legumes goes down the bottom. I don't know if I can do this left-handed or upside down. No, right-handed, upside down. And of course it's the same thing next year. Potatoes then rise from the middle to the top. Likewise, everything just slips up a space each year. Now, why does this matter? These chaps here, your legumes, your brassicas, your potatoes, they love manure. They love well-rotted horse exhaust. In fact, they can't get enough of it. These guys are hungry. They love the stuff. Now, these ones, onions and roots, no. The problem with onions and roots is that, well, have you seen those people who sometimes put the sort of comedic vegetables, the ones that have turned into things which they shouldn't really look like? I saw one the other day if someone had put a carrot up on the internet which was supposed to be a supermodel carrot. Takes a bit of imagination, but there we are. Someone clearly was pleased with themselves on that one. And that's really because there's too many nutrients in the soil and the carrot had forked. So roots, so your parsnips, your carrots, your beetroot and stuff, it's best if they follow a year where there's been well manured crop there the year before. So that's crop rotation. So we're going to be doing some manuring later on, and I'm going to go and get some manure in. I've got the only car with a trailer we've got is an old Morris Minor convertible, but I'm going to leave the roof up because there might be a bit of a hum, and I don't think that's really what any of us want really for an open top experience. Now, I'm going to take you for a quick tour of the greenhouse before we do that, and the do's and don'ts about what you should look for when you're buying one, because I've wasted my money buying a greenhouse which blew away in the wind, and I don't want you to make the same errors. So, see you in a moment. Okay, greenhouses. Now, a couple of years ago I thought I'm going to treat myself to a greenhouse, and what I did is I went out and bought one of these plastic glazed greenhouses, because I thought, wow, children, football, cricket bats, all sorts of things, it's going to end in tears. But I'd only put it up a month, and then the October storms arrived, and the thing literally fell to pieces. The frame was bent, was all sorts. I couldn't get any money back despite having a 5-year guarantee, because the end manufacturer said, well, shouldn't have been getting sold in the UK, these things aren't suitable for your weather. So sometime later I then bought this here on eBay, 70 quid. It is glass. So far so good. There's been the odd broken pane, but that's okay. I've warned the kids, they're careful, I don't mind, it happens. And actually it works really well. In fact, this cheap greenhouse is somewhat better than the ones we had at Big Allotment, which looked beautiful, but they lacked a vital component, and this is it. An opening roof vent. The single most important in any greenhouse, an opening roof vent, and it's got a little automatic ram on there, which cost about 20 quid on eBay, but basically the sun comes out and it just opens it up and it lets the air through. The hot air balloon principle? hot air rises. The ones in Big Allotment Challenge had none of that, so everything roasted. I ended up unscrewing the windows to take them out and try and save my crops. So make sure you get one of those. Let's just move inside the greenhouse. So I just want to show you something else. When you're thinking of laying out your greenhouse, it's worth thinking about how you're going to use it. Planting things in pots is absolutely fine, or in grow bags, as long as you've got someone who can continually water stuff for you. I had quite a lot of problems at Big Allotment Challenge with my tomatoes getting blossom end rot, and that's because of inconsistent watering. What I've done at home though is just to have beds straight into the ground, because in that way, even if you're away for a few days, there's always plenty of moisture in the ground, and you're not going to end up with a Sahara and everything going off. And the other thing that's a fantastic opportunity is that they're not just for tomatoes. These are broad beans, which I sowed in the greenhouse in the autumn. And you can see this is, what are we, about the 5th of March now? They're already in full bloom, so we'll probably be eating broad beans in March. They can then come out and the tomatoes can go in. So that's like a fantastic double result, isn't it? There we are. So that's a quick intro to the greenhouse. Now let's crack on with getting some manure. Well, the sun's out this morning, fantastic weather, so I've been out in the old mod and picked up well-rotted horse manure. Here we are. Doesn't smell at all, in fact, because it's so well rotted, so yeah, I suppose I could have gone topless. But there we are. So I've now got to shovel this lot back round to the garden and get it dug in. So I suppose I'd better get on with it. Okay, so that's the soil manured, dug over, and there's one last thing which I normally do with the aid of my useful leek pointer, and that is to put a little bit of organic fertiliser just dusted across it. I tend to use fish blood and bone. It stinks, but it's quite a slow release fertiliser and it works really well. And I really just get a bit of this and just dust it over. Usually a couple of weeks before I actually sow anything into the ground, because that just gives it a chance to work its way in. Now, one thing I should answer, if you don't have access to a handy horse, or a friend who owns a handy horse and produces lots of horse exhaust, what can you do? Well, you can buy bags of well-rotted manure from garden centres, but my preference is to use chicken pellet manure, which is just little pellets like this that come in a tub this sort of size, and yeah, very easy to distribute, and it works really well. So literally, this is all I plan to do to the soil this season. No more digging, a little bit of hoeing, twice a week with a good hoe, keeps the soil in order, as they say, and yeah, time to get sowing. Exciting, isn't it? Every gardener should have a hoe. Saves bending down, you can clear all the weeds off in 10 minutes, maybe a couple of times a week. Brilliant. Okay, now we've got the soil all prepared, it's time to get some growing in. Right, first up is pea, Oregon sugar pod. I've put my glasses on today, bit of a night out last night, bit sore for the old contact lenses, and I can read the labels without doing this. It's good, isn't it? Right, sugar snap peas, I'm going to put those straight into the ground outside. Now you can set these off in pots, because actually at this time of year it can be a little bit cold still in the soil, but I'm going to put these straight into the ground and put cloches over. I'm also just going to sow short rows, because one of the big problems with gardening is obviously ending up with a big glut. Everything arrives at once, so I'm just going to do a few and then I'll sow some more in a couple of weeks' time. And the second thing is some more broad beans. So let's crack on with the peas. Hang on, I'm going to zoom in so you can see what's going on. You might not see my head, but that's okay. So look, hang on, let's see if I can work this thing. Here we are. Here we are now. Good. Hopefully you can see what's going on at my feet. Ooh, a bit too much maybe. Let's try me out again. I'm going to get the hang of this tech at some point. Okay, I think that's all right at that, isn't it? Good. So what I'm going to do is just draw out a short row about the width of the spade to put the peas in, just literally like that. So it's just below the surface, nothing more than that. And then just sprinkle the peas in. What about sort of, rather than just a straight row, it's just a liberal spreading of peas, just a couple of inches apart. So I'm just going to drop them in like this. and that should be absolutely fine. One of the challenges with growing peas is that the mice come along and tend to nick them out the soil, and they get very fat and you don't. So I'm just going to get a couple of sticks to mark the row, just know where it is. Get one more. And literally just drag the soil back over the top. That's all there is to it. So it's nice and easy. And that should be the first lot of sugar snap peas in. Now, to give them a better chance of going, because it's still quite cool at this time of year, I'm going to stick a cloche over the top as well. It won't cover the whole row, but it will give a level of protection from the mice and just give it a little bit of warmth as well. So that's the sugar snap peas in. Next up is the broad beans. So if I just move a little bit further this way, hang on, let me just check you can still see. Just zoom back out a little bit. There we are, very good. And the broad beans, again, I'm just going to do another short row. So literally just pull a little bit of space out here and drop them in. These should be all right without any covering, but I say it is a little bit cool. These, rather than just dropping them in randomly, I'm going to put them in about 3 inches apart, maybe. What's that, 5 centimetres? And a row that's a few inches wide, maybe 10 centimetres wide. But again, I'm just going to do a few at a time, so don't end up with a big glut. That should be absolutely fine. Need a couple of sticks, don't I, to mark them up. Haven't got any. Do that later. So just drag this all back over and get a cloche. You can buy these cloches in B&Q for about a tenner, and because they're plastic, they last forever, which is great. There you are. It's the broad beans and sugar snap peas in. Now to retreat to the shed. I'm going to crack on with sowing a few more things now, and these little module trays are really useful for getting things started, because you can put a whole stack of crops in one tray and make life pretty easy for yourself. So again, I'm just using ordinary seed compost. I'll just fill these up and just sort of bung it across like that, nice and easy. And we'll get several crops going at once. I'm just going to stick them in the greenhouse until everything's moving along. They can all go outside after that. Okay, so there we are, nice and filled. Just get a tray to stick that in, keep it level. Oh, can he hold it all in? There it is, marvellous, marvellous. First thing, lettuce. So, lettuce, sweetheart, Kos. So I'm going to do 2 rows of that. The seeds for lettuce are really small, and they get growing really quickly. Once they've got going, I can stick them outside, because they will put up with some quite harsh weather actually. But getting them started is a lot easier in a tray than straight outside, because you've got all the aggravation of slugs in the soil and all that sort of stuff. Tiny little seeds, which pretty difficult for you to see on the camera there. But I'm just going to put a couple in each module, because that way I'm sort of hedging my bets really that they come up, because you can always pull out the extra ones and go, and unlucky compost heap for you, rather than ending up with a potential failure and space in the tray. So yeah, just put them on the top, push them in a little bit, and yeah, that's the lettuce sown. Brilliant. Lettuce grow quite quickly, so it's worth successionally sowing them. So I'll put some more in a couple of weeks' time, and come back and do them again time after. We'll leave basil for the moment. Come back to that. Parsley. Parsley you can normally put direct into the soil, but it's still a little bit early at the moment, so I'm going to put some in a tray, which I can then put outside afterwards. It's not the greatest for transplanting, but it will be all right. Again, tiny little seeds, very much like the lettuce seeds, but I'll just put again a couple in each module, and that should be absolutely fine. But these module trays are really useful, because it just saves that aggravation of loads of pots. You can probably hear the plane in the background going over. When we were filming Big Allotment, some of the filming days would go on for over 12 hours, and the reason being was that we're quite close to White Waltham airfield here, and so the stunt planes do all their practice over this area. So what would happen is you'd start filming something, and then sort of Red Baron would come over, and they'd have to phone the airfield and get them to sort it out. So kale, again, quite a hardy plant. It'll stand up through the winter, so you can put it in now and you'll have some to eat during the summer, put some more in, and it will stand up all winter, which is great. Tiny little round seeds, tends to germinate really well. So I'm just going to put one seed in each of the modules, and then I can always put some more in if I need to. I'll probably just need one more seed in there. Again, just push them just below the surface, and that'll be fine. It's all in. It's a busy time of year, really. This you know, there's quite a bit of work in gardening up front, if you like, in March and April. But once it's all in, you can relax and enjoy the summer, which is what you want to be doing, isn't it? Really, cauliflower, that thing to go with your cheese. I'm growing Britain's most popular cauliflower all year round. I should have told you what the variety of kale was, by the way. It's reflex, all year round, which is supposed to be most popular. It's supposed to be easy to grow with a tight head. Well, find out. You never got to see my cauliflowers, did you, on Big Allotment? Because by that point I was on the compost heap. Very similar seeds to the kale, tiny little things. In fact, it'd be easy to confuse the plants when they're starting out. So that's why I put the labels in. Again, just sprinkling them on the top like that. Maybe a couple in each, and if they don't come up, if too many come up, that's fine. If they don't, then at least I'm covered by having a couple in each module. So that's it. I'll just put those seeds and seal those up again. As long as you keep these seeds sealed up, they will last for a couple of years. So you don't have to keep buying more seeds each year. They also keep falling down, don't they? So I'm just going to stick those in the greenhouse under a little thing like that, and in a couple of weeks they should be up. That's fine. Now, last thing I'm going to do this week is to try and get some basil going. Get the basil going. The tomatoes have started coming up, by the way, that I put in last week. So yeah, get this going. We should have some bruschetta in the summer, which would be nice, wouldn't it? Basil may or may not work at this time of year. It's a little bit early because it does like a little bit of warmth to get going, but I'm going to stick some in the greenhouse because the way I see it, you know, there's no great loss if it doesn't happen. I tend to just grow it in small pots like this because a regular supply of fresh leaves is what you really want. So I'll just grow a little pot like this, and then I'll put another pot in a couple of weeks' time, another pot. I think that's one of the key things that I'd say about, you know, growing stuff yourself is to try and plant regularly rather than too much at once, because it's very easy to just end up with this sort of glut, and you sort of go, well, that's great, I can just go and, you know, I can just get it regularly from the shop. Well, just grow small amounts. Small little seeds, literally just sprinkle a few across the surface there. You want several plants in each pot with this one. The variety of basil I'm growing is British basil. These are a load of seeds I had left over from last year, actually, so hopefully they should be all right. So yeah, I'll just drop them on the surface, a little bit of soil on top, because I want the warmth to get to them. I'm going to stick that there, and again I'm going to stick it in the greenhouse. There we are. Look, that's all for this week. I'll be back next week, and I'm going to be doing putting some shallots and some onions and some garlic in, and we'll have a look at the stuff we planted last week, see how it's going. As ever, send in your questions if you've got any. Very happy to help. See you soon.